What up everyone, it's your man XMan87 here, bringing you another top 10 video, and what I have for you today are my top 10 favorite action figures of 2023. This list is based off everything I purchased this year for my own personal collection from a few different brands. As always, don't take it personal if you don't see one of your favorites on my list, because I'm not making your list. I'm making my own list from my personal favorite figures I had the most fun with. Keywords in the title, my favorite. There's no wrong way in doing it, so before I get into everything, if you could please leave a thumbs up, like rating on the video. It'll help show your support for my channel, and I greatly appreciate it. Starting off with honorable mentions, Black Widow, for obvious reasons. The Trouble Bubble with the Televiper would have made the list if it had a flight stand, but love the vehicle. Evil Ryu, great figure with great accessories, but there was one Street Fighter figure I loved more that ended up on my list. Storm Collectibles, MK Kano, accessories made this a ton of fun. G.I. Joe Scrap Iron, one of the best deluxe figures all year. Mafex Huntress, the most definitive comic Huntress in 6-inch form I think we'll ever get. The Transformers team continues to kill it, having a strong 2023 with great offerings like this Tarn and Snarl. But now let's take it to the figure who won my top honors. And that is the Marvel Legends 90s Spider-Man the Animated Series, Doc Ock. I've said it before that this version of Doc Ock is the version I wanted most. I have my complaints, but they just need to improve the stability of the tentacles. I'm just very appreciative that we can get bendable tentacles for Doc Ock figures again. The aesthetics and sculpt are beautiful, but I felt some black tracing could have really took it up a notch. I went ahead and took the risk with my Black Gundam marker. He just looks so much more closer to animation completion, and it's what they should have done. If Hasbro can waste money on atrocious cel-shaded paint, they could have used their budget wisely to apply black painted tracing. This was my favorite Marvel Legends figure of 2023. Surprisingly, not one Marvel Legends figure made my top 10 list. This is the first time a Legends figure did not make my top 10 action figure list. I love Marvel Legends, but they didn't earn it this year. It was their shittiest year ever since the Dark Days, and only about a quarter of the lineup was considerably good in 2023. But thankfully 2024 already shaped out to be much better than 2023 with the little that's been revealed, so it'll be a better year for Legends. To wrap this up simply, this being my personal definitive Doc Ock to me and my Spider-Man shelf being both comic and animated inspired, this replaced my comic Doc Ock as my main Doc Ock on display. Now with these honors out of the way, let's get ready to count down! Kicking things off at the number 10 spot, we have the Valaverse Action Force Warpath Eclipse. In my opinion, I think she is the best designed Action Force character next to the Swarm. Definitely the best female in the line to me. Her design is what sparked my interest. I can't recall a figure in my collection that has this beautifully exotic military look to them, and it makes her so unique, being half Latina and half Native American. The war paint, the shamag, the tribal tattoo, and tactical gear colors just hits all cylinders in terms of striking visuals for me. The articulation is pretty much solid on all areas. She's loaded with accessories, and that's one of the best things about Action Force. You'll always get a shit ton of accessories with multiple hands that's standardized across, but I do wish it was smoother to swap the hands. 3 heads, a vest, guns, knives, the whole kit and caboodle for what a standard military figure should include. I had a great time photographing her, and she also has a ton of army building with kit bash potential. So the replay value is through the roof. This figure now has sentimental value for me from the incredible experience shared with my fans at Joe Fest 2023, along with the Valaverse crew, Laser Pants, and Articulated Ninja. Everyone treated me well with nothing but the utmost respect and love. So I got to pick this figure up on my birthday, which was the first day of Joe Fest 2023, June 9th. And that adds more specialty for me. I said this would be a 2023 top 10 contender in my review, and it landed on my list. She was destined to be in this spot. Coming in at the number 9 spot, we have The Last of Us Joel and Ellie by Lim Toys. The huge gamer nerd in me has always wanted an action figure line based off one of the greatest video games of all time. One of the greatest video games I've ever played in my lifetime, The Last of Us. NECA's 2-pack didn't do it for me, as it was proportionately and aesthetically clunky, poor articulation, and poorly done portraits that were uninspiring. With these, Limb Toys, a third-party company, which is why it's dubbed The Rest of Us on the box instead of The Last of Us due to licensing, but despite that, Limb Toys was able to get the likenesses done right. The scale is accurate between a young Ellie next to Joel. And now that I look at it, having fabric clothing was the way to go for this property. And maybe it's because of how grounded the game is, the fabric really translated perfectly to keep these figures grounded to match the game's look and feel. A wide array of accessories like multiple hands, tons of video game inspired accessories from the bricks to Molotov cocktails, gas masks, Ellie's signature bow with different types of arrows, other weapons, and even my favorite, the nail bomb, which made me geek out extra hard. The articulation can seem a bit hindered at first, but you gotta know where to move it and how to move it under all that loosely tight fabric. This is my first time dabbling with this company, and it's beyond a great first impression so far to make my top 10 immediately. These are now one of my dream figures that I can check off the wish list. I love this franchise. I enjoyed the hell out of the live action TV series on HBO Max, and I'm currently playing The Last of Us Part 2 remastered version for the PS5, so hopefully I'll see more figures from The Last of Us. Limb Toys have some of the infectants on the way to pair up with these, and that'll be a lot of fun for display and play, especially through photography. This 2-pack was one of my most anticipated releases of 2023. Once I had these in hand, I knew it cemented itself in stone to be on my top 10. Coming in at number 8, we have the Hasbro Transformers Studio Series Ultra Magnus. If you were to ask me to name my top 3 favorite Autobots of all time, it's Grimlock, Optimus Prime, and Ultra Magnus. So this was a must-have for me. Finally, a Commander-class Ultra Magnus to be at his appropriate scale, and he looks absolutely glorious. It's so film accurate that if there is any flaws, I don't even notice them. Now, if you allow me to be a fanboy for a minute, I love Hot Rod. I do. I was a kid and he just had this visual pop to me that I always liked and still do. My liking for him I compare to WWE's Ultimate Warrior. As a kid, he just had that look to me that drew me in until I got older and didn't realize then how terrible of a wrestler he was, but I still liked him. For me, Hot Rod was kind of like that, but a terribly written character. I know people hate Hot Rod becoming Rodimus Prime. Again, I like Hot Rod, but I do agree it should have been Ultra Magnus as the new Prime. Unfortunately, when he had the Matrix in hand, he couldn't open it, damn it! But now, you can open it for him as his chest cavity can open up with a removable Matrix of Leadership accessory. 2 more guns and some blast effects that add more accessory play for this guy. He looks incredible in bot mode with some heavy aesthetics. But then when you transform him into his carrier mode, oh man, this is where I just have way too much fun with him. As you can see, I have some Autobots on him. You can put a deluxe or a leader class like an Ironhide that can fit at the bottom. It looks absolutely incredible, and a ramp function to drive your Autobots in or out of the carrier is just so satisfying, man. I don't know, I just love this figure. A little bit bigger in size than his War for Cybertron or Kingdom counterpart in vehicle mode, but it's definitely the bot mode that makes the difference. I'm just blown away at how seamless the transformation is step by step. It's all in one fell swoop to complete the look. Nothing you have to take apart to connect to another piece that can take you out of the experience in motion. The engineering behind this just blew me away. It all flows as one smooth transition. Ultra Magnus is the Transformer figure of the year in my opinion. At number 7, Steel from the DC Comics Return of Superman line from Mafex. I don't know why this figure is not on many collectors' top 10 lists because this figure has it all. Maybe because the Steel character isn't relevant anymore, and since I'm a 90s kid, and for anyone who grew up in the 90s like I did, you knew Steel was the shit and had a good run for a few years until it all went downhill with the Steel movie starring Shaq. I can't believe that happened. Worst comic book movie ever. To me, the character was still cool in the comics a few years after, and I still liked the character despite his 15 minutes of fame in the comics. I always thought he had cool figures made. His look always called for good figures. From the 90s Kenner line to the Mattel DC Superheroes line from the Four Horsemen, and now it continues with Mafex, and even DC Multiverse McFarlane Toys took a crack at the character for another good figure. This is the best of the best. His sculpt is so accurate to proportions. The two-tone colors of silver and gray makes it so good to look at. The shoulder pauldrons have a lot of range to put him in some wild hammer-wielding poses. Just look at this pose I have him in, for example. Plus the boot thrusters and the wired cape gives this one of the best flight visuals for a figure. Tons of heads and hands that you come to expect from Mafex, and the posability is all there. All new sculpt obviously, and Mafex proved they can tackle characters with bigger statures, which further proves it with their upcoming Bane. I even love how the tube wirings on the legs are done as it goes with the flow of the knee joints. Pliable but sturdy. I don't have to worry about it breaking on me. The bulk to this guy is perfect and captured his comic cosmetics of aesthetics. I love the 90s Superman lore and can't wait for Mafex to give us more. Number 6, DC Comics Batman Hush Poison Ivy by Mafex. For so many years, all I really had was the DCUC Signature Series Poison Ivy as my definitive 6-inch Poison Ivy in my collection. The figure had the looks but not the articulation and accessories. This has it all and so much more. This figure is beauty and perfection personified. Everything Poison Ivy should be. She's got that nice light green skin tone with her green outfit and vines that mesh in so well. I just have two minor gripes. The vines on her thighs don't wrap around tight enough, causing it to slide down a few times. Secondly, I wish she had her bare feet instead of these ballerina flats. I know this is accurate to Jim Lee's drawing, but it's just a character visual trait preference for me. Makes more sense for the character given her whole connection with Mother Nature and all, but would have been nice to have swappable feet as an option since her feet have to pop off anyways in order to put the vines around her calves and ankles. She has two gorgeous head portraits, multiple hand gestures for display, and a ton of Hush comic inspired accessories like the briefcase and cache to recreate your favorite panel scenes. And it's possible to do all that as you could get this Poison Ivy in all her elegant poses. Speaking of recreating, I can finally use those Poison Ivy accessories of the vines that came with the Hush Superman when he was under her control, and this just looks so good together, especially if you have these two paired with each other on your Batman display. It was a badass panel scene in the comics, and I'm glad that these bonus accessories finally paid off. Another thing that's important to know about this figure is that it completes the Gotham City Sirens team of her, Harley Quinn, and Catwoman. Pretty much the first comic team completion for Mafex, correct me if I'm wrong. Mafex having the Hush license pretty much grants them access to all of Batman's Rogues Gallery as they all appeared on one panel. If they do all of them, we'll have the ultimate Batman 6-inch figure display ever. This one sniped in last minute on my list as I got it in mid to late December, but this figure's beauty is so divine, it just surpassed so many figures I had in mind for this spot. She left that much of a strong impression on me, or maybe she's got me under her control now. Damn, she's sensational. Kicking off the top 5 is the Storm Collectibles Mortal Kombat Liu Kang with Fatality Dragon. Storm Collectibles continues their streak with always ending up in my top 5. Liu Kang is the total package when it comes down to what to offer in an action figure. He's got the sculpt, the paint, the aesthetics, the articulation, and the accessories of multiple heads and hands. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that I would get Liu Kang's dragon form in an action figure. As a huge diehard Mortal Kombat fan of the franchise, Storm Collectibles is out here making my childhood dreams come true. The sculpting is phenomenal, then the paint on top of that sculpting ignites those details on another level. A masterpiece to me, and the articulation has way more to offer than what I expected. Yes, while limited in some areas, if you are a pro at posing and know how to work those areas, then you'll find it to be pleasantly enjoyable. I know the set runs about $180 and that may be pricey to some, but I can't complain as it's worth it to me. Storm figures run at $100, so at $80 for this fully articulated, masterfully sculpted dragon, which I think is their largest figure ever made in their 1/12 scale line, it's worth the money from my perceived value. Some folks bought this for the dragon to be a Fin Fang Foom substitute for their Marvel Legends collection, which I think is funny. If you are a die-hard Liu Kang fan, then this is a must-have. Hard to have one without the other. They are one. They just go together. This is the first figure I reviewed this year that I gave a 10 out of 10 perfect score. And even though it bumped down to number 5, it was my number 1 for quite some time. Hands down, this dragon makes for the ultimate centerpiece of an MK collection. Coming in at number 4, we have the Jada Toys Ultra Street Fighter 2 Chun-Li. I want to start off with a strong statement and say that this figure has already set the gold standard for what domestic female figures should be. This has the perfect ball jointed diaphragm engineering that allows you to get the maximum mobility in that area and even at the neck area. Something you can't get with the Marvel Legends Black Widow. Just goes to show you the difference from what a great design team can do with full potential compared to a mediocre design team that has become complacent, not performing at their full potential. The perfectly engineered ball joints for those key areas is why I think she's the most important female figure to come out that year, and other domestic companies should follow suit of her design. This is a company that just made die-cast cars, and now this is their first time delving into 6-inch articulated figures. They perfected them on their first try, and were able to give you import-style articulation and aesthetics like pinless right off the bat. Extra heads, hands, and effects for $25? What I'm about to say, I mean in a good way. When I hear some folks say, whoa, imagine when Jada Toys reaches their potential. Forget that. They're already at their potential instead of reaching it. What we get for $25 with them is more value than what we get with other lines that are equal in price or higher. That's what needs to be appreciated about this figure. Chun-Li here is gorgeously crafted in design, from her buns to her thick thighs. The paint is wonderful throughout all those small, brimming, granular details, texturized throughout her outfit. The skirt is a soft, pliable plastic that doesn't hinder the leg movements one bit, and also proves that drop-down hips are not needed to get a wide range of leg articulation. Like I said, gold standard for domestic female figures, and it's what every female domestic figure should aspire to be. Hell, maybe even some female imports too, since she's better than some female import figures out there. Chun-Li is my favorite Street Fighter character, and no way I was going to let this slide off my radar. She's worth every penny. She's the best female figure of 2023. Top 3 time, and we have the DC Comics Batman Hush Nightwing by Mafex. Mafex just stays making the definitive versions for most of the iconic looks of classic comic characters. They deserve that recognition. They're giving us the best comic representation of these characters for 6-inch figures. Nightwing has had great figures in the past, but none come nowhere near as close to this, especially in the accessory department. Just goes to show how much Mafex cares about this character, and any character they touch for that matter, so that we can enjoy the best possible offering out of all our options from the various companies that tackled some previously. About 14 total accessories to display and play around with. The articulation is non-stop fun. I can't think of a pose I couldn't get him into. He literally does everything an acrobatic aerialist is supposed to do. The sculpt, the paint, and the body proportions are all 10s across the board. The blend between matte and the gloss finish is nicely balanced and shows that you can still make a blank body look stylized. He's just built to perfection. It's all pros here. I seriously have no cons for this guy. That's very rare for me. I think Nightwing here, without a shadow of a doubt, can be put into a debate as the greatest DC Comics figure ever made, and you wouldn't get an argument from me here. Number 2, Marvel Comics 90s X-Men Magneto by Mafex. For those who know me, you know that Magneto is my favorite Marvel villain of all time. So while I'm sure others will say Nightwing is Mafex figure of the year, with all due respect to that figure, I'm impartially biased towards Magneto, so it's this one for me. To be fair, Nightwing has had great figures before Mafex. Magneto never had a great figure. They all suffered the same thing, incorrect, wonky proportions. This is the closest to Jim Lee it's ever gotten. I'm literally at all with this figure. It's pretty much all I ever wanted in a Magneto figure. From the multiple options of hands, effects, heads, articulation, correct proportions, etc., I think the biggest one for me was the posable wired cape, so I can get all the dynamic posing. Magneto's cape always complements his power set and overall presence. It makes the biggest difference in the world to have this. No cheesy magnetic gimmick accessories, it's substance over gimmick. The sculpt is all there and the metallic purple paint looks stunning and stimulates the eye to contrast nicely with the flat red. Makes it look like it's actual metal armor, which has a very nice shimmer going on. There's just so much replay value with all the things he brings to the table. This figure delivers everything that everyone else and I have been wanting in a classic Magneto figure for so long. He's so photogenic. This is the character I love photographing the most because of his power set that always gets my creative juices flowing for pics. My most anticipated figure of the year, and it exceeded my expectations. Another definitive figure checked off the list thanks to Mafex again, and now this Magneto figure is forever immortalized. And at numero uno, no surprise here, it is the Hasbro HasLab G.I. Joe Classified Series HISS Tank. I've sung enough praises for this, so don't know what else to say. I'm just enthralled by it. Looking at it is a thrill, but playing with it brings pure joy. Tons of play features all around this thing, from the rolling tank treads to lights and other functioning parts like a sliding down ramp, a variety of interchangeable parts so you can always make each one look different or just stay classic. Then the potential add-ons, like how we already have the 788 Fireteam 3-pack to expand upon the HISS team. We'll also be getting more with the likes of the 788 Fireteam Techno Viper, which will include the SMS that attaches to the hitch in the back of the tank. And possibly more potential add-ons that I pointed out in my review, like blast effects for the cannons to make this a rewarding ongoing investment. The HISS Driver, Tactician, and Gunner are all great figures with nice paint decals and have their own respective accessories to them. Cobra Commander in his retro attire is one of the best G.I. Joe figures of the year, having great aesthetics and paint combo, meanwhile including the most accessories out of all the figures in this set. The scale to this HISS tank is faithful, and I don't know why I see some people complaining about the scale being too small for a tank. It's accurate to the T. It was meant and designed for velocity while having more explosive firepower than a normal tank. Hence the name HISS, standing for High Speed Sentry. Those that say it's too small, sounds like a you problem, bro, since your brain is rejecting the facts instead of accepting them. If you argue that, then you are in denial and further proves my point. Overall, this tank still feels like a tank in hand. They went all out on details and some of the best materials they've ever used to make this feel sturdy and durable. I said it before and I'll say it again. This is not only the centerpiece and pride of my G.I. Joe collection, but a masterpiece. This is Toy of the Year for me. Now I kick it back to you. What was your top 10 action figures of 2023? And if you can't name 10, let me know who ended up being your number 1 and what action figure line you thought was the best in 2023. Comment below, let me know, we'll chat about it. Thanks for watching another top 10 video. Please follow me on Instagram if you haven't already at xman87. Hit the notification bell so you always know when my latest videos are up. Share and subscribe if you're new. See you on the next video. Peace, peace.